encouraging.
And speaking, Rachel, of the nation's mood or what they wanted, I found at the convention that the people there really did want to hear that message of unity. We heard it for about 20 minutes from Donald Trump. And then, as our Lindsay Davis said, it quickly went from grace to grievance.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the former president certainly lost the moment at the convention during his speech. I think, you know, a lot of the speeches leading up to that were very effective. I think the fact that Republicans decided to feature everyday Americans who have lost family members due to overdoses, fentanyl, crime, being murdered, very moving. But I do think, you know, following the shooting, Republican Party talking about unity, they wanted to sort of build this moment up for Trump. And he very quickly, you know, lost the moment on that. So I don't know that it hurt him, but he really had a chance to reach out to those swing voters who are undecided. And I'm not sure that he did that.
What do you think? It seemed spontaneous that he went off prompter. You know, we were following his speech, and then suddenly he was over here, and then the rally last night. It's back to the old Trump.
Absolutely. And what it seemed like was that he gave that first 25 minutes and then he started to lose the crowd a little bit. And Donald Trump is nothing if not able to read when people are with him. And so I think you saw him sort of panicking up there of like, uh-oh, like this unity thing has nowhere to go for me. And so he went back to the old hits. Now, what's interesting is that he also still lost people on the floor when that happened. You saw folks checking their watches, leaving early as it kept going on as the longest convention speech
100 minutes
in
last
modern
night.
American history. But, you know, my biggest takeaway from the convention was the real solidifying of this second new Republican Party, the pick of J.D. Vance. I mean, to the extent Donald Trump in 2016 was a marriage where everyone's like, well, I don't know if that's going to last. J.D. Vance is now that couple having a baby. J.D. Vance has come up through that new Republican Party. He was really Donald Trump's only choice. You know, Rubio, Haley, Burgum, they all came up through that other Republican Party, that three-legged stool of Goldwater and Reagan. Vance is now this choice of the new Republican Party, which is Donald Trump. It is a different foreign policy. It's anti-woke, not about abortion and guns, and it's not about limited government.
And Donna, I have to think that Democrats were pretty happy when he veered away from that unity message.
I think Democrats understood from day one that it was going to be another episode of the Trump reality show. It was staged so perfectly that when I was on the floor in the pre-convention day, I said to myself, how can they all be here in this small little space? You know, when you come to our convention in 29 days, we're going to have delegates all up the rafters. We're going to have delegates everywhere. So it really is a split screen. Democrats are living in reality. This is the same party that several months ago kept Speaker Johnson from being, you know, basically moved off the plate. This is a party that understands that sometimes we have to fight it out. We have to duke it out in order for us to be a stronger, more unified party. It's a very important time for the Democratic Party. Right, and I say that as someone who will vote today to certify the delegates to the 2024 convention. Martha?
You brought it up. You said split screen, and all I could think of is the split screen that the Republicans are surely going to have with the fist in the hand, as we said, in the air, as we said earlier, and Joe Biden struggling up and down those steps the night he went home with COVID. So he says he won't leave. Mm-hmm. He says he's digging in. Mm-hmm. You heard Joe Manchin. Mm-hmm. You've got Adam Schiff. You've got Pelosi and Schumer going in to see him. What do you think is happening?
There are 749 what we used to be called super delegates. We no longer wear capes. We're plainclothes delegates, automatic delegates. And they have a right to express their opinion. They have a right to say, this is my party too, and I think you should do X, Mr. President. But there are also 3,800 plus delegates who have pledged their support to President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. They also deserve to have a say in this matter. They deserve, because they waited in lines. They got the people to support them. They had to get signatures in some states in order to be delegates. I want to make sure that we hear from them as well.
But Terry, if he stays, what happens? I mean, every move he makes is going to be scrutinized. He's going out on the campaign trail. He was already exhausted. He's already trying to recover from COVID. What do you see happening in the next week or so?
I think for a lot of Americans, it's a painful thing to watch. You know, there's a saying in sports, Father Time remains undefeated. And you know, there's nothing that Joe Biden can do to make himself less old. And it does seem to people, to strong majorities of the American people, that he's too old, that he's declining rapidly. He's been exposed in some of these interviews as someone who gets into a sentence. He's able to, you know, begin a thought and then loses his train of thought and just offers a anyway.
Yeah. Can I just say, I feel
Yes.
like we're, to jump in here.
Do you feel we're at a point? I mean, how long can this last?
I mean, the thing is, time is running out for the dump Biden movement. And I feel like this week there's going to be this sort of put up or shut up moment for Democratic leaders. We have now been in this sort of, how do I say? People are saying one thing publicly and doing something very differently behind the scenes, specifically senior Democrats, Democratic leaders. You know, you have Nancy Pelosi working behind the scenes, rallying her allies, organizing letters to sort of call on and pressure Biden to step
And John
aside.
Carl reported that there may be many, many more to come.
For sure, for sure. But, you know, these leaders, they have significant influence, right? And so the fact that they're doing one thing behind the scenes and saying something very different, it just feels like at some point they're going to have to go on record with what they think. And I am curious to see if that makes a difference. And just a reminder that Congress comes back this week. So we will see Democrats on the Hill organizing and able to sort of maybe come out together. So, I mean, it's not over, but they're running out of time.
And Sarah, how do Republicans, if this ends up being Kamala Harris, which would be the most likely outcome if Joe Biden steps aside, how does the campaign change, or did we see a little preview of that, calling Kamala Harris nuts and crazy?
For sure. They're already planning sort of a bifurcated strategy right now. They thought they were running against Biden. They've obviously already painted him the way that they wanted that caricature to be. When it comes to Harris, their plan is to just tie her to Biden, that she knew about all this the whole time and didn't tell the American people about his health and age concerns, that his policies are her policies. They plan to call her the border czar as much as possible to remind people that she was in charge of this thing that you are most upset about, as Terry was showing us in that piece. You know, I think that the Trump campaign would still rather run against Biden, but Harris is certainly their second choice at this point. And don't forget, when it comes to Joe Biden, he has now made it more time since the debate than he has left to that vote. Status quo is still very much on his side.
And Donna, I just want a final word from you about 20 seconds. What would Kamala Harris's biggest challenges be? What are her vulnerabilities?
Well, first of all, I think she would make a terrific president, but right now she is standing by Joe Biden, and for obvious reason. 21 million Americans today have health care because of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. They know that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris will continue to protect our freedoms. 15 million jobs. So she's going to bring her policy, but what we really need right now is to close that trust gap so people see Joe Biden as the leader of our country.
I didn't hear any vulnerabilities there.
Oh, I got
That's